So I was talking to my friend's mom, and she was telling me how, because I was like briefly asking about it. I don't keep up with politics like that, but I heard from people, her son, my friend, like here and there on Twitter about how there's like a war about to break out between India and Pakistan. And I was talking to his mom, and his mom yesterday told me like, oh, it's already happening. Like attacks have already happened. Let me tell you like not a story, sure, a story. Let me tell you a story, my understanding, completely unrelated, but just stick with me through this, okay? And understand before going into this, I generalize and I speak hyperbolic, but you have to take the essence of what I'm saying and try to understand that. If I say, all these Indians are NPCs, what I mean by that is 95% of Western society's NPCs, 98% of Indians are NPCs. I mean that there is a difference. I mean that there is something to address there. If you take what I say when I'm being hyperbolic, when I'm speaking in absolutes, and you go, oh, but you're technically wrong about this, then you're trying to discredit what I'm saying by intentionally misinterpreting the essence of what I'm trying to communicate here. So just hear me out, okay? Indian society does have great advancements. Nobody's denying that, okay? Of course, there are NPCs who will just go along with the flow. They see what's going on with, Indian as a stereotype online and what it's now starting to carry with it. And they just go along with it and they don't consider India to have any redeeming qualities at all. Or they would if they thought about it, but they don't really think, they don't really use their brains, right? But the people who are based, who are actually giving like real criticism hidden underneath all the jokes and all that stuff and all the trolling, these base people, like, they have a point. They are not saying India has no advancements. They're not, giving zero credit to India. In fact, they're saying respect to India. There's something to be afraid of, the fact that the majority of them still don't have internet. That's understanding that in what they do, there is something to respect. There is a way where if India reaches its fullest potential, the world as a whole changes. The real issue with India is that they self-sabotage. For every, 3 steps forward they take 2 steps back. They're, very good in fact, I would say they're excellent at bouncing back from problems. But they themselves create their own problems. So when you begin to admire more and more the resilience of Indians, the fact that this country can maintain and support this many people, it also speaks to how dramatically they create the very problems that they need to prove that they can overcome, which shows how resilient they are. I've seen this play out not only in stories and things like that, but in front of my own eyes, where little pockets of society and villages will like give power and authority to the wrong people, or to people without, and they'll idolize them and they won't hold them accountable. They won't, have some sort of system of going about doing this, and the power will just corrupt these people and they'll just act completely selfishly and destroy the village that they swear to protect. And there's all this, you can call it submissiveness, and I would kind of agree with you, but there's so much idolatry. Idolatry is normalized. I mean, they literally have idols. Like, that's what they call them, like Hindu idols, like statues in their homes and things like that, where even outside of that, it's just, they worship movie stars, they worship celebrities, they worship the occasional guru that will pop up and has some nice way of speaking and has, quotes that resonate with people, and they'll be up on a stage and they'll have a ton of aura, and they won't hold these people accountable, they won't question them, and these people will let that power get to them, let it corrupt them, and they'll destroy the people that look up to them. So much of Indian history is not protected and not held in great pride and honor, because when they really try to dig into it, they'll just find shame. And every 5 generations, 2 or 3 of those generations will be so depressed because of the expectations, and there's a variety of expectations put onto the youth, that it literally, for a couple of generations, cripples their ability, their drive to chase their dreams and chase what they love and who they love. Nobody said Indians are not resilient. They absolutely are. But they're resilient against the problems that they create for themselves. But I've seen it in the Indian culture that's ingrained in my own family. They move backwards. The adults, are basically still just kids who have been fooled into thinking that they're adults. And, they grow up basically treating their own children like they're like tools, like they're pawns in their little game. And eventually when they die and those kids grow old, even a little bit after their parents are dead, even for like a few years later, I'm talking about people in my own family, they will still be obedient to the last rules and asks that their parents had left behind. And on one hand, that's admirable. It is an admirable trait if you combine it with a more holistic philosophy. But it is pure submission and nothing else. It is worship. And eventually these people, when they are the eldest in their family, they're the eldest in their generation, and they have to take care of the people, their own offspring, their children, their grandchildren. They grow old and they realize, wait a second, my parents weren't guiding me or inspiring me. They were actually being kind of cruel and just using me to support their own comfortable lives. And Indians are too scared to admit this because there comes a deep shame with admitting that. I mean, even a society like the United States, which lives in infinitely more comfort than India, not infinitely, but I speak in absolutes. Even the United States will not admit that they live too comfortable of lives. So it's understandable why it's hard to admit, but it is the truth. And these adults, having never grown up really in their entire lives, they become bitter and resentful. And they go, well, shit, I'm gonna try to enjoy the last few years of my life. Let me use my kids like pawns to make my life more pleasurable in its final years. The process, the direction of where energy needs to be given, where it needs to move in society, is backwards in India. It should be the case that people live to serve the people that come after them, to be a teacher, to be a source of guidance, to help them to do better in their lives so they can do better for the people next in line, and they can do better for the people next in line, to continue that cycle of positivity. My dad still has a toddler's mentality. Like, he will not acknowledge when he is at fault for something like very serious. Of course, me and my brother have mellowed him out over the years. He would never admit fault to anything at all. But for little things that, aren't so serious, that aren't such a big deal, that aren't so detrimental to the family or to society or to whatever, or to us, he'll admit fault to those things to kind of like show that, yes, I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. But when it really comes down to the real like life lessons that we have to learn, that I'm having to learn on my own, he refuses to take responsibility for them. What I mean by that specifically is, like, an example would be, I cannot ask my dad, what mistakes did you make in raising me? Because I want to learn from your mistakes. That should be, if I heard that from my son, I'd be happy. I would feel extremely lucky to be able to hear that kind of thing from my son, especially when he figures that out himself. And out of love, out of, in some sense, a sort of self-sacrifice, but not really, because none of us are going to last forever, I would do my best to try to assess all the mistakes I made so that the next in line can fix those mistakes and do better than me. He would not want to answer that question. He would refuse to acknowledge that he made any mistakes in raising me. In fact, he would pin it on me. And I say that because he has. Compared to what I see out here, and I understand that comparison is the thief of all joy, but even compared to what I know to be within myself, my dad carries a very pathetic trait right here, a character flaw. People are going to jump to conclusions, oh, you should never say that kind of thing about your father. I want to hold him to a high standard. Is it really so much to ask that someone should be able to admit their own mistakes? For the sake of loving each other and trusting each other and helping each other, we do depend on others and we do need support from each other. But time doesn't move backwards. In order to go into the future, in order to create a better future over time, do better one day after the next, always improving, you need to reorient society so that the games people play will move the direction of productivity and value from the previous generation to the next generation. The next generation should always be more prosperous. They should always be stronger, more capable, more loving, more positive, more empathetic, more connected than the previous generation. And culturally, this is a cultural issue because all human beings are the same. It's just a matter of what you're taught. And the culture of India does not teach this as a value. It doesn't inspire grand ambitions. It doesn't inspire people to go beyond the labels that are put onto them, the caste system and whatnot, all these barbaric, outdated things. It doesn't inspire people to break out of the mental glass ceilings, the mental prisons, that it's normal to just, stick within that box, never think outside that box. It really is like ultimate submission. Like it's a submissive society. I mean, they copy America and their culture and their entertainment industry and everything like every 15 years. Like if you really look at them as a country compared to a country like China, they really are kiss-ups. Just, copying off of the biggest bully on the world stage, unable to organize into something greater, to do something greater. It is a society that prioritizes consumption over creation. You guys know that phrase, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country? When that speech was made, that's when America was great. In India, this is not even like an idea that's like passed around. It's normal to haggle with everyone rather than I'm supporting you with your endeavors, you're supporting me with my endeavors, I'm trusting that you're giving me the absolute most you can give me, the best deal you can give me, and I'm gonna give you the best deal I can give you. I don't know if their culture has destroyed all the good people who would think in this way, and so society can't be propped up like this. There's no inspirational role models to move past treating each other like everything's transactional. In fact, among my Indian friends and family, it's almost looked down upon if you try to have relationships that go beyond the transactional. It's not almost, it is looked down upon. Because truly, any person that actually thinks for themselves, who is actually based, understands that these are cultural issues with the label that people like assign to their identity, and they're not an issue with actual like individuals as a whole. As individuals, we're all the same. White, black, American, Indian, whatever it might be. But yet these people go, oh, why are you helping these Americans? Why do you want to, talk with all these white people, black people, all this stuff? These are the things that my family says. And I'm like, because they're also people. But it's not just my family who says this. It's everyone at every level of like circle around me. Family, friends, acquaintances, neighborhood, community, church, whatever it might be. All these people, they try to preach to me saying, oh, the only people who you should keep in your circle that you actually care about is everyone right at the edge where I'm on. They never extend it past that. They never go below that. They have to be included in that. It's almost as if the normal strategy for developing a circle, for developing a network, is to never look beyond into the, okay, who can I include, as in who can I support? Who can I provide for? No, it's who can support me? Who can provide for me? And anyone who doesn't meet that requirement, they don't belong in my circle. This is not a culture of sharing. Indians, culturally, not as individuals, when you break out of that culture, when you become based, you learn bigger and better things. But people who are submissive to the culture don't like the idea of sharing prosperity. Their priority when making friends or whatever is not to like make friends in order to give to them, to provide to them. It's to take from them. So everyone just has to accept it. Everyone just has to live in this society where it's normal for everyone to be in this Stockholm syndrome situation where no one thinks it's wrong at all. But really, it's actually like horrendous. India is a society where scamming people, each other, even their own family members, is so common. They don't even really consider it like a problem to fix. The only times I've ever been held to a high standard by the people in my life who are like proud of their Indian heritage are when my actions at a high standard would benefit them. Otherwise, it was never for me. It was never for my personal development. It was never for looking out for me. And this is obvious to anyone on the outside who like really looks at the situation. The Indian government and the people there, especially the people there, you talk to them, they don't care that there's massive multi-million-dollar corporations in India, conglomerates that just scam innocent old ladies in the Western world who like have no bit, like These people, these scammers in India, literally have zero empathy. They are taking people's life savings, becoming millionaires, and then just doing nothing with it and consuming and creating the same income inequality that the people in America are suffering with. I would describe it like a dog. Dogs are very admirable in a certain type of way. They're very innocent in this way. That's what it means to be submissive. That's what it means to be weak and controllable. They don't extend their empathy, like culturally, to all the people who might need it. They extend it to all the people who supported them first. But if the only people who you will extend your empathy to is the people who supported you first, every generation your empathy is going to shrink, because there's always going to be one or two people you burn bridges with. And if you're never going out and creating new connections, but you're just like keeping it in the family, it makes it so that you don't actually have a true identity that includes the giving of empathy. It means you rely on some kind of label. Oh, we care about each other because we're family, or we're first cousins, or we're second cousins, and you should extend your empathy out to just second cousins, not third. I'm a second cousin, completely unrelated, but you should support me. But don't stress yourself with supporting too many people outside of me. Oh, what's that? You want to support everyone? Screw the world. Bro, you live in the world. Why are you thinking so short-sighted? This is literally the way dogs think. It's like a home invader breaks into the home and gives the dog a piece of bacon, and now that dog is loyal to them. This is how Indians interpret love. There are all these houses and home invaders, Russia, China, the United States, Brazil, whatever it might be. And India is a guard dog that has loyalty only to whoever feeds it. And this is not like the Indian people or their genetics or whatever. It's the culture. And the culture can be changed. The culture was made by the people, it evolves by the people, and it will evolve. So you are the people, evolve it in the right way. And all this to say, Pakistan is not so different from this. I mean, it is different in that they reformat it to a Muslim format, but the values that are taught culturally, generation after generation, are the same. Both of these countries, India and Pakistan, you have a ton of work to do on your own soil, with your own citizens. You should be focusing on your own problems first. I know for politicians who are in power, how boring life can get. For rich individuals who are worshipped in society, how both boring and high stimulation, like high stakes, everything is. You become numb to the real world. The pleasure you're experiencing is shallow. It's temporary. It's not real. And there is a real world out there that is depending on you to not destroy it. And I get the perspective of like, people have to solve their own problems. They are responsible for their own problems. And if the people of India or people of Pakistan or any other country really decided to like band together and overthrow their oppressors, it would be effortless for them to do it, and they would make the world a better place. But to be honest, we live in a different world. Responsibility cannot just be that of the individual anymore. There are too many weaknesses that the individual has that gets exploited by these massive syndicates. There is no country in the world where a proper rebellion against their oppressive authorities is actually being formed. Even the Americans, that the leaders of India who are worshipped in India, they worship the American leaders. Even the Americans are so stupid. They created an imaginary, cultural, non-violent, but sometimes actually violent, civil war, and they made it so pervasive and so normal that the ignorant citizens don't even question if it's wrong. They don't even decide to go, okay, wait a second. Why are we separating people? Oh, you're Republican, you're Democrat. Why are we creating these illusions of separation? We are all people. We are all people that can form opinions. And we can have opinions formed for us. Ideas can take hold of us. We are all susceptible to that. Even the world's greatest superpower is too distracted to solve real problems. And those real problems are piling up. India, Pakistan, don't follow in the footsteps of these countries that are going downhill. And to the leaders of these nations, I'm telling you, I mean, you don't have to believe most of you are not going to believe this when I tell you. I might have to show you, but I am willing to show you. True happiness doesn't come from the pleasure of power. It comes from the pain of responsibility. I understand that you're likely a highly ambitious person searching for some kind of meaning in life. That meaning that you're looking so hard to find is in the exact spot that you're the most scared to look for it. It is truly in service of those who rely on you. And we all rely on each other, and you rely on others as well. And that within the culture of India and Pakistan and the rest of the world as well. But this is what I'm talking about right now. That needs to change. The culture needs to be that of giving, of empathy, the direction of love, of masculinity, of providing, of caring, of creation for others, rather than the purpose of life being for consumption. Fix this problem first in your own countries. And this is a cultural problem, so it can be fixed in a non-violent way. You don't need war for this. And if you do, I guarantee you, diplomats guarantee 3 things. Number 1, your citizens will be happier. Number 2, the politicians, the leaders, the people in control, the people making these decisions out of boredom, which is at the root what it is, they will also be happier. And number 3, there won't even be talks about a war. It won't even be a conversation. It won't be a consideration that crosses anyone's mind. The only conversation will be, oh my God, look how stupid what a stupid little era that was. What the hell were we thinking? Why did we even, consider that this is something to take seriously? The person who told me about the war that broke out, she's Pakistani. My friend, my best friend, Zoeb, he's Pakistani. I'm Indian. We didn't know until last year that he was Pakistani and I was Indian. Obviously he knew he was Pakistani, I knew. But we didn't know about it. I thought he was Indian, he thought I was Pakistani. I can go way more in depth on how these labels, these imaginary borders we draw on a map are like expecting humans to act like ants and not go over the little line we draw on the ground. It's pathetic, and it relegates our identity to something that at its core is meaningless, something only a very, very privileged person could assign to their identity when they have nothing better to do with their time. It is one of the main factors in this spiraling of my generation's identity crisis. So it's an issue I'm passionate about. So, oh, you don't have the label of diplomat or whatever, but I have the passion of one. And that's what makes me qualified to opine.